As Israel enters day 17 of the war with Hamas, a brutal terrorist organization who is equal, if not worse, than ISIS, many are beginning to wonder, when will Israel invade Gaza to start taking care of business? As Israel still maintains the goal of eradicating Hamas completely, many are wondering, what are they waiting around for? Well, the answer is more complex and might not be what you're thinking or what you'd expect. Yes, there are rumors that the United States is asking Israel to postpone their invasion for various reasons, but Israel has even more than the United States to think about, even putting aside the fact that there are still 200 hostages in the hands of their enemy. In fact, Israel may be in this war for the long haul. I'm Luke, and this is the Israel Guys. Hello and welcome to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of Jew hatred and anti-Israel propaganda, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Guys, please go ahead and hit subscribe. We're coming up on 100,000 subscribers. We'd love to hit that by the end of the year, if not even sooner, here on YouTube. Also, lots of subscribers picking up steam and views on Rumble. You can always subscribe to us there. Follow us on social media, Instagram. Now that we're back up and running, it's a good time to follow us there for lots of reels. Facebook, Twitter. We are now on Telegram. Our WhatsApp group is full at the moment, but you can follow the Israel Guys on Telegram. Find all of those links down in the description below. Before we get into the analysis of why Israel is not invading Gaza yet, just a couple of good pieces of news. Norit Cooper, age 79, and Yocheved Lifshitz, 85, were released from Gaza by Hamas last night. They're Israeli citizens, and they don't hold any foreign citizenship. I know there's rumors flying around that Hamas might release all the foreign nationals, but not the Israeli citizens, which puts you in the mind of Nazi Germany. But I couldn't find verification of that information. But right now, they have released two elderly ladies who are just Israeli citizens, although both of their husbands, I believe both of them are in their 80s, are still being held hostage. IDF spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said, quote, "We are happy about their release and return to families," but he noted that their husbands were still in the hands of Hamas. They are 2 out of 222 hostages. We're talking about babies, the elderly, women, and men still being held. I just want to make, even though this is an amazing piece of good news, and we should celebrate the fact that now 4 hostages has been released from Gaza, I want to make sure that the world and the media and even Israel supporters don't get caught up in the idea that Hamas is actually doing something good here. No. Releasing these 2 hostages is part of their latest ploy meant to weave a massive web of deception over the Western world so that they can start looking like the good guys. Maybe they realized that their image was not so great when they started brutally murdering, raping, pillaging, torturing, beheading children, women, babies, elderly. So maybe they're trying to backtrack a little bit. And, we'll release 2 ladies, because they're elderly and they need medical attention. We'll release 2 American citizens here. Don't be fooled. They are definitely treating the rest of these hostages very, very badly, and the world should not stop any kind of pressure until all of the hostages are returned home to their families. Another quick piece of news is that the United States is potentially preparing for a mass evacuation of their citizens from Lebanon and Israel. As of October 7th, they were reporting that there were 600,000 American citizens in Israel and 86,000 American citizens in Lebanon. It didn't say whether or not the 600,000 citizens in Israel, whether any of those were dual Israeli citizens, which I believe is probably the case, and that's why that number is so high. There are thousands of Americans who are now citizens of Israel, but they hold dual citizenship. So that's probably why there's so many of those. But the United States, they're saying hopefully it won't happen. But if more of a regional war breaks out, they want to be prepared to take their citizens out of Lebanon and Israel. So the big question of the day, right? Why has Israel on day 17 of the war still not invaded Gaza to take care of business. I was wondering this exact same thing. I started researching yesterday. I definitely recommend Caroline Glick. She's a author and journalist, also does a lot of work for JNS. She has a show on JNS and a regular column there, jns.org. I'll put all the links down in the description below. But just started doing a lot of research. Yesterday, I believe Josiah talked about the rumors that the United States is pressuring Israel to wait because of the hostage situation, especially because there's so many Americans being held hostage inside of Gaza. Actually, another article in JNS today said that U.S. officials did tell the New York Times that America is not demanding that Israel delay an invasion of Gaza, and that America still supports Israel to invade Gaza, as well as they support Israel to take Hamas out, to eradicate them completely. That doesn't mean that they might be pressuring Israel to delay. Maybe they're coming out publicly and saying, no, we're not demanding that they delay indefinitely or whatever. That doesn't mean that they're putting pressure behind closed doors. Again, IDF spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said, quote, "We will activate our forces when the best conditions are there and improve the situation with the IAF, the Air Force, and remove threats to them. We have to look at the region and other efforts underway in Gaza. We are ready and determined." Brigadier General Yossi Kuperwasser, a former Director General of Israel's Strategic Affairs Ministry and former head of the Research and Assessment Division of IDF Intelligence, it's a long title, he said, quote, "The only way to handle this problem is by defeating Hamas. And finally, in the Gaza Strip, that's where we are focused. We gathered a very big force for that reason." And the IDF has again reiterated they are still committed to the goal of eradicating Hamas and are ready to invade Gaza from the air, the land, and the sea. I believe that was Israel's defense ministry that said that. So that is a good thing. But still, the question remains, what are they waiting for? So the analysis by Caroline Glick said that according to officials in Israel, and I believe according to a report on Channel 14, Hebrew language TV station in Israel, and a retired IDF general, that Israel is estimating they're facing about 40,000 Hamas terrorists inside Gaza. Now, you might think, great, go take them out. Well, they're not just facing 40,000 terrorists and their leadership and their infrastructure, but the majority of those terrorists, as well as all the leaders and a lot of their organization and planning and infrastructure, is inside a labyrinth of tunnels underground. So if Israel was to invade Hamas in Gaza right now and decided to take on Hamas underground, it could be a massive tactical disadvantage. Bottom line is that Israel needs to fight Hamas above ground. So IDF Major General Yitzhak Brick is a retired IDF officer from the 1973 Yom Kippur War. Evidently, a lot of people were not listening to him before this latest attack by Hamas, and now everybody wants to hear what he has to say because a lot of his assessments and predictions came true. Don't have time to get into that, but what he, in an interview that he gave to Israel's Channel 14, Hebrew language TV station here, he laid out how he thinks Israel needs to defeat Hamas in Gaza. He said, one, Hamas is setting a death trap for the IDF in Gaza, especially by all going underground and then probably booby-trapping the above-ground locations and also hiding underneath civilian locations. This is my own opinion, but hiding underneath civilian locations, using humans as civilians as human shields, forcibly prohibiting their civilian population from evacuating to the south, as the IDF is trying to help them to do and warning them repeatedly, even giving them routes to use. Hamas is physically prohibiting them from evacuating to the south so they can be safe because they want as many civilians killed as possible so they can win the propaganda war, right? So Hamas is definitely setting a death trap for the IDF if they invade on foot right now. He says electricity and water must be cut off to and from the tunnels. Basically, Israel must wait, and basically Israel has to surround Hamas in these tunnels, lay them, put a siege on them, cut off electricity, cut off water, cut off any infrastructure, and then wait until they're forced to come to the surface where they can then attack and defeat them. But this process could take several months. So that might be why you're seeing the IDF wait right now. And it might be why this war could drag on for a while. Now, I'm not predicting that. I hope and pray that the war will come to an end very soon, but only after Israel completely eradicates Hamas. But interestingly enough, and this leads into the work that we're doing and where I'm located right now in Israel, IDF retired General Yitzhak Brick, he also basically said that Israel should be concentrating their forces on the southern front. Obviously, they're not going to take forces out of the northern front where they need them as well, because they're facing a massive threat from Hezbollah in Lebanon. But he said that Israel needs to make sure to take care of the rest of the country, mostly meaning Judea and Samaria. And he said they need to create a civil guard. I don't know if that'd be a national guard or just properly arming the residents of Judea and Samaria, as well as Israel's northern front. Basically, that is what we're facing right now, because as you know, I'm located on the Mount of Blessing. The studio is in the middle of Samaria, and we are seeing the residents of Judea and Samaria spread very thin because most of their husbands, fathers, brothers, sons have gone to the northern and southern fronts, and now the local security teams and they're facing this escalated level of threats with the war, because Hamas and Fatah is inciting the Arabs in Judea and Samaria to join the war, but with less manpower and less equipment. So IDF General Brick, he's warning Israel needs to make sure they're prepared to invade Gaza, but also protect the northern front and Judea and Samaria. Basically, they need to equip the entire country so that they can focus on taking out the threats exactly where they need to. So you guys have probably heard we have an operation called Operation Ittai. Ittai was a man from the Bible who was from the nations. In fact, he was from the Gaza Strip. But unlike his neighbor Goliath, he decided to come to Israel, join forces with David, and in David's greatest hour of need, instead of leaving and fleeing the country, he and his 600 men stood with David and fought with David's army, the ancient army of Israel, which equates to the modern-day IDF today. So we have launched Operation Ittai, operationittai.com. The link is down in the description below. It's a project designed to serve, equip, and defend the communities of Judea and Samaria. We're airlifting supplies and equipment from all over the world. We're talking protective vests, helmets, night vision, binoculars, flashlights, so much more. We're actually housing IDF soldiers. We've helped to feed IDF soldiers. We've provided cots for the IDF. You can check out the impact from the work that we're doing down below, because this operation is in full swing. We have orders that have already been placed in the United States, and they're getting ready to go on cargo and be flown straight to Israel. All of this equipment is designed to protect and equip the Jewish communities and farms inside Judea and Samaria. Just like I talked about a second ago, IDF General Brick, he said that Israel needs to make sure that Judea and Samaria is equipped and defended so that they can focus their attentions on Hezbollah, on Hamas. That's what Operation Ittai is all about. If you guys, people from the nations, just like Ittai, want to join in with defending and protecting and serving Israel in their greatest hour of crisis, they haven't faced a crisis like this since probably 1948, 75 years ago, and we're talking the Holocaust. Go to operationittai.com. You can equip and defend and serve the Jewish communities and the small farms in Judea and Samaria. The link down in the description below. Guys, I want to wrap up, but the bottom line is that it's possible this will be a long war. Thankfully, Israel seems to be 100% committed to eradicating Hamas, but the complexities are that they're potentially facing 40,000 terrorists, Hamas terrorists, equal if not worse in brutality to ISIS. Leaders and also their infrastructure all buried deep underground inside the Gaza Strip, with civilians placed above them to protect them. They may need to spend months starving them out into the open above ground so that they can take care of business and absolutely eradicate Hamas. And obviously, on top of all of that, they're facing a hostage crisis situation with more than 200 hostages inside the Gaza Strip. By the way, Biden keeps talking about how Hamas does not represent the Palestinian people, right? And that the Palestinian Authority represents the Palestinian people, and he's hinting at this two-state solution, right? Well, guess what? Hakol HaYehudi News Service and Regavim's research department, they revealed in a joint release recently the PA's guidance that was given to all the mosques in the West Bank this past Friday. In the guidance circulated, it said, quote, "We call upon our Palestinian people. The preservation of public and personal property is a religious and moral national duty. Our Palestinian people cannot raise a white flag until the occupation, also known as Israel, is removed and the independent Palestinian state is established with Jerusalem as its capital." Notice, establishment of a Palestinian state with Jerusalem as its capital and the removal of Israel, the occupation. And then the guidance included a passage from the Islamic Hadith that calls for genocide of Jewish people. Quote, "The time will not come until the Muslims fight the Jews and the Muslims kill them, until the Jews hide behind the stones and trees, and the stones or the trees say, 'O Muslim, servant of God, this is a Jew behind me. Come and kill him.'" So a direct call to all the imams and leaders in mosques in Judea and Samaria to join the war and to commit genocide and murder against the Jewish people. Guys, don't forget to check out OperationEtai.com. Christian Zionists from all over the world were airlifting emergency supplies to the local farms and communities in Judea and Samaria. And make sure to check out the link where you can see the impact, all the videos and photos of the projects that we've already been blessed to participate in just because of people like you guys. And if you've already donated, thank you so much. Guys, don't forget to subscribe. Get that conversation going down below. Would love to hear from you, especially if you're a new viewer. As always, tune out the fake news and tune into what is actually happening here in the land of Israel. We're here every single day with your direct connection to the land and people of Israel.